So we're going to start a little short video series. They're going to be slightly longer clips than the daily reels. Just going to give a little bit of background and more detail that everyone's asking around different locations, around the trip in general.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with a little bit of intro. Tell me about yourself, why you're doing the trip, what's brought you to do this.
I'm Duncan.
Lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, mate. I'm 25. I'm from the UK. Grew up down in Cornwall, in rural countryside. It was an awesome place to grow up. Spent as much time as possible outdoors, not just on bikes, on the water as well. Gave me a big appreciation for the simple things like being able to get outdoors and explore. Went to university in Bath, studied sports science. Worked for a couple of years in London, making use of the degree, but ultimately had to do a little bit. But ultimately, I wanted to be. There wasn't enough cycling involved. We met in London riding bikes through a social setup, which was awesome, and it got to the point where I needed to do something bigger. I've been on lots of bikepacking trips in the past, some with my family and some by myself. But I was really craving something bigger. I needed something that, if I didn't ever do anything else after this, I could feel satisfied that I've done something.
And you've gone big.
And I've gone big.
Gone big.
Yeah.
Nice.
Who are you?
Who am I? My name's Joel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm Joel. I'm from West London. So interestingly, we had probably very different childhoods. Very different. I grew up in a big city with less outdoor space and less. But was fortunate enough to have a family that loved outdoor stuff. We were in Wales, Cornwall, etc. all the time.
You turned out all right.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll talk about parents later. Parents are great. And yeah, so I've then started. I've always ridden bikes, more as a hobby. Never really took it that seriously as a mode of transport. And then joined Moloko, the group we talked about earlier, and that's where we met. And just kind of taken it from there. And the amount, I guess, the likes of yourself, everyone who I now ride with has opened up. There's so much you can do in cycling, so much, and you meet so many people. Yeah, so broad, so social. How many activities can you do to the intensity we do it at, yet still make friends at the same time and have a good laugh and have a chat? We've had some hilarious times on the bikes in the last few years.
Few years, I mean, even when we've been riding together a few times during this trip, which we'll get into, you can have, we've virtually had to pull over because we've been crying with laughter.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have chats that we probably wouldn't have if we weren't on bikes. It's much easier to go a lot deeper.
Good laugh.
So yes,
it's good.
Bikes are good. Yeah. We love it.
But yeah, so I'm a physio, so I unfortunately don't do this full time. But yeah, in my time when I can get off, I utilise it and get out here.
Which is where I should probably add that I was working in the bike industry just before I left, but I realised that I wasn't going to be satisfied if I just made use of limited annual leave. So saved as much as possible for a few years after university, and then jacked it in, and here we are.
Here we are, and hit it. All right. We're going to do a little quick fire round, a bit of excitement to start you off.
Let's do it.
Few questions. Ready?
Let's go.
Best place you've slept so far?
On the side of a lake in Montenegro, halfway up the mountain, fireflies in the evening, beautiful sunrise in the morning. Nothing like it.
Picture it. Unreal.
It was good.
Next one, best food you've eaten?
A chicken sheesh flatbread wrap in Turkey with grilled peppers and a chilli on the side.
We've started a stupid chili challenge that you'll see, I'm sure, at some point.
Chili roulette. You've got good photos from chili. You can have them in.
Ridiculous. I will not be taking part.
It's a great game.
I'm not taking part. Yeah, cool, wicked. Bit of a one of a downer. Biggest mistake so far?
Biggest mistake so far. I slept tonight without a mosquito head net on. The first night when the mosquitoes had arrived. It's not funny. I woke up in the morning and wasn't quite sure why my vision was blurry. One of my eyes had swollen shut. I was absolutely covered in bites.
Nice.
And it had knock-on effects for a couple of days. I was blurry vision, headaches, throwing up. Don't do it.
Not what you need.
Big mistake.
Funniest human interaction?
I think probably there have been loads. I think that's a key thing we'll be going on about for the whole of this series. But in Turkey, we were trying to get food in a bakery, and we were dragged to a little builder's smoking tea hut thing. It wasn't even a hut; it was in an alleyway. He kicked his mates out of their chairs, gave them to us, and chatted with us in very broken English.
It was brilliant.
I know that's not a quick fire answer,
No,
but
brilliant.
we could do a whole.
Big up Ikmed if you're watching.
Ikmed deserves all of
Big
the
up
time he
Ikmed.
gets. What a guy. So good.
Most interesting accommodation.
The Fat Fox Lodge in Morzine.
Yeah.
I was offered a night to stay there early in the trip. It was probably the first big sort of kindness from a stranger that I had on this trip. Lovely, lovely couple. We'll get there later on. But yeah, lovely place to stay.
Cool. You've got one word to describe the next 4 countries I list.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Quick. All right. Quick.
Yeah.
Greece,
Hot.
Italy,
Coffee.
Switzerland,
Expensive.
Montenegro.
Beautiful.
We're going to add in one more. France.
One more France. Exciting.
Yeah, nice, perfect.
That's quick enough.
And then you've done a lot of countries so far throughout Europe, which we'll go into. Any that you didn't include in your route that you would like to, that you would do? Which one would you do?
That's a great question. I headed south because I wanted to get to mountains. So I went through the Alps and the Dolomites. Big, expansive environments like that are always going to be a highlight for me. Wouldn't mind going up through sort of Belgium and that area, big cycling heritage. But I think on this route, the one that would have been more possible probably have been Kosovo. I think would be an excellent place to enjoy. To explore. I really enjoyed the Balkans.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Very cool.
That.
Nice. Cool. So we're going to go through your trip a little bit. Obviously, starting in the UK, going through Europe. If you could just talk me through starting in the UK, starting in London, getting down to the coast, onto the ferry. What was that like?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is that when you plan for a trip like this, it feels like it's a long way away, and then very quickly, it's not very far away at all, and you have a lot to sort. So the last few weeks were a real whirlwind of securing brand sponsorships, which I'm very appreciative for. Packing things up, moving out of my house, leaving my job, trying to see as many friends and family as possible before I left. By the time it got to the night before, I was back in London. I was in the house that I'd moved out of, empty bedroom, sleeping bag on a mattress, and
it's luxury for you now.
It's luxury. It's now luxury, but at that point, there's very little to worry about because you're there now. There's nothing you can do. All the work's been done. So I met a few friends the last night before I left. Following morning, early starts. Met the people that we met through. We organised a big group ride for the first day, which was a great way to be able to see lots of people before I left. So met the friends with Moloko. Rode from London down to Brighton. Halfway down, stopped for coffee at cafe. I can't remember. Cafe with the Donkeys. Great place.
Great cafe.
Great cafe.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean.
On the donkey run.
It's important to say here that Joel wasn't on this ride because he had better things to be doing. But
work.
but at that cafe, not only did we meet the donkeys, my parents also dropped in, and my dad.
That's a rude way to talk about your parents.
That was a really good segue. Mum then drove down to the south coast, but my dad hopped onto his bike, and mostly for that second section, I just rode with him actually rather than everyone else, which was really nice. Yeah. The reason I do a lot of this kind of riding is from growing up riding with my parents and exploring on bikes. I know that they do a lot of awesome trips themselves.
Let's say
and
your parents sound pretty cool. The trips they've done explains why you're doing what you're doing in a way.
It helps. Yeah, it helps make sense. That can be another one. We could do a whole. We could do many
families.
We could do many episodes on where the Coveys come from, but. Got down to the south coast, fish and chips in Brighton. It's the only way to finish a London to Brighton ride. Said bye to lots of friends, and then I rode along the coast a bit to get to Newhaven, where I was going to get a ferry the following morning. Camped overnight with my parents. After a very hectic day of lots of goodbyes, which was very special. It was really nice to have a quiet evening.
At the same time.
It's raining, and to be able to spend that evening, and then the following morning I rode down to the ferry port. Said bye to my mum and dad just before I went through the customs, which was it was very real at that point. There's no
emotional goodbye.
I'm very appreciative that they support what I'm doing rather than thinking I'm crazy. And I can't take that for granted. It makes things much easier.
It's huge,
the first day through the UK, packed a lot in, but the next morning it was onto the ferry, and that was the first leg of the journey done.
And we'll very quickly talk about the ferry journey before we wrap this up.
All right,
There's a few sick bags involved. They were needed.
So
can you just talk me through that little section of that first bit where you are truly alone before we then talk about Europe in the following few videos.
So when I was waiting for the ferry, actually that was quite a good one. I don't know if I shared that at the time. There was one other cyclist going onto the ferry to go bikepacking, who I met once I'd gone through customs, who was fixing a puncture, or trying to. So I stopped and helped her with that, which was really cool to be able to just have a distraction, but early morning, have a chat with another cyclist. Got onto the ferry, and my thought was, I'm going to be cycling a big 3 days through France to start this trip. The best way to start would be to smash through loads of snacks, get loads of energy, and I had more food with me than I could fit in my pockets and my bags. So I thought I'd eat as much as possible, and I'd be ready to go when I got off the ferry. It was a really rough crossing. It had been very windy for quite a few days in the UK, and it was smashing up through the channel. I ate an enormous amount in the first half of this journey on the ferry. It's only a 4 or 5 hour crossing. It's pretty good. First couple of hours getting through, I ate a lot of Welsh cakes. They're a fantastic carbohydrate for the bike. Peanuts, bars, some fruit, had some bananas. You know, really loaded myself up.
He does eat fruit. See,
I do eat fruit. I love a banana, but I spent the second half of this journey throwing it all back up again. So when I got off the ferry the other side, I felt way worse than I had for a long time. I was pretty empty, but that's how we start an adventure.
We'll leave it there for now, I think. We'll leave you with those lovely thoughts to finish off the video.
The lovely ferry journey to finish.
It is really hot here, so we're going to have to move ever so slightly.
Let's have a quick drink, and then we'll crack on.
We'll wrap it off here.
We're
going to do some more. We'll go through Europe, and then we'll go from there. Lots more info coming. Happy?
Cheers.
Smashed it.